In all of human history, have any societies truly lived underground? We're talking about archaeology and antiquity, of course. Well, obviously, from the findings that we have, yes, they have lived underground. From ancient catacombs to modern subways, humans have always traveled underground for brief moments of time. But have entire societies of people ever lived underground? Yes, but historically, only during emergencies and when they have had no other option. And in recent decades, however, that has begun to change. The thing that's important to know about the underground is that we do not belong there. Biologically, physiologically, our bodies are just not designed for life underground. This is what William Hunt, author of the book Underground, A Human History of the Worlds Beneath Our Feet, Random House 2019, says. And yet, he says, there are moments when we have retreated underground, of course, for safety. People throughout history have temporarily lived below the surface for various reasons, and if there were no materials to build houses, then they dug subterranean homes. This is what Hunt explained to Live Science. And in places with extreme climates, people went beneath the earth in the summer to stay cool, and in the winter to stay warm. Underground was also a safe place to hide from enemies. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. For example, ancient people built the famous underground cities of Cappadocia in what is now Turkey, Derinkuyu, also an example for protection against both weather and war. Hunt said they were geographically in a very strategic place. They were constantly being attacked, and the inhabitants retreated below ground during emergencies, but they did not stay there for long, perhaps for a week at a time. Now, in the case of Cappadocia, we know that the early Christians took security there. They had it as a safe haven because of the 300 years of being, the perjury that they had. So they were in Cappadocia of Turkey. So the inhabitants, Hunt explains, retreated below ground during emergencies, but they did not stay there for long, perhaps a week at a time. One of the largest underground cities in Cappadocia is Derinkuyu, which dates to around 7th or 8th centuries and could have housed about 20,000 people, according to Atlas Obscura. Geophysicists have found that another recently discovered city in that area spans 5 million square feet. That's 460,000 square meters, and may be 371 feet deep, according to National Geographic. And if true, this would make the recent found Cappadocia city about a third larger than Derinkuyu. The underground cities of Cappadocia are an architectural marvel, Hunt said. Wells plunge deep into the water table. Holes leading up to the surface activate as ventilation shafts. Layers of protection, including large circular stones that the people rolled in front of entrances to the city, separated those inside from invaders on the surface. Not all subterranean dwellings were complex as those in Cappadocia. People also lived in natural and homemade caves, Hunt said, and constructed caverns can be found anywhere with the right kind of geology, sandstone, for example, as in Derinkuyu in Cappadocia. But I know that people still live in these structures in Cappadocia. So stone hills made from puff, volcanic stone, pumice, easily dug into. Now, they are very common, he says. You find people making cave dwellings all over the world, even in modern-day Australia, in a town called Coober Pedy. About half the population live in dugouts or holes carved into the side of the hills, according to Smithsonian Magazine. Many marginalized people have found shelter below the surface in abandoned infrastructures of modern cities as well. There are fewer of those mole people of New York than there were in the 1980s, but perhaps more than 1,000 unhoused people live in tunnels beneath the streets of the city, Hunt said. Mainly homeless people have lived in tunnels beneath Las Vegas, and large communities of orphans live under the streets in Bucharest, Romania. As more people move to cities, more of those city dwellers may move underground. Places such as Singapore are exploring options for building downwards. The technology needed to do so is already here, said Ain Hee Lee, an assistant professor of psychology at University of Nottingham's Malaysia campus, who studies the psychology of being underground. The challenge is convincing people to move underground. In reality, being beneath the earth has not yet been shown to cause negative psychological effects as long as lighting, room size, ceiling height, and other physical attributes of the setting are consistent with above ground, he said. For example, technologies such as light wells, which allow natural sunlight to brighten underground spaces using materials such as reflective paint, could fight depression that arises from the lack of sunlight. People may feel isolated from their counterparts on the surface. They may feel a lack of control, but these feelings are manageable. However, people still dislike the idea of living below ground. In any case, Lee thinks people worldwide will start to make the move before long, inspired by places that are paving the way, such as Resso, an underground city in Montreal, Canada, that is more than 20 miles long and includes shopping malls, offices, hotels, and schools. Now, I used to live in Montreal, and we know that the soil there is so soft that you have to have as many basements as you have underground as you have floors above ground. And I told you many times, both my parents were architects in Montreal and in New York City as well. But that's what my mother explained to me. If you have 7 floors above ground, you have to have 7 basements. So they use those basements to make shopping malls. And what they had is even underground tropical gardens, waterfalls. I mean, you were there in the shopping mall. And also, almost every neighborhood has a subway. So it's so cold there. I mean, we had more cold than we had in Anchorage, Alaska, because it's a snow belt. The Arctic has a cold front that moves right over Montreal in most cases. So, of course, it's because of the inclement weather, it's good to take the subway, and you have a huge subway system in Montreal. So, because of the fact that it's quite cheap to do that, you're already digging underground. So this is one of the things underground in Montreal. You don't have the idea that you're underground when you have all this beautiful lighting and even waterfalls and tropical gardens in the malls. Now, including shopping malls, they said, offices, hotels, and schools underground. Realistically, we will go underground soon. Within at least 30 years, there are going to be more underground work environments, more underground fun places, she said. It's coming, it's not just an idea. Okay, this was from Live Science, and it's on Science Alert by Tara Santora. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support.